What is up YouTube? It's your boy Alex here from Team Generations, and today we are back with another video. Today, as you can guess by the title of the video, we are going to be talking about Tachis. So if you guys have been following the channel for a while now, you know that I absolutely love Tachikaze. I think it's honestly one of the best values in this game, period, bar none. You can get some of the greatest value in terms of competitive play, just fun, interactive kind of gameplay for your decks, and honestly, it's really just a very cheap clan in general. And the fan base for this is just super, like, I don't know, they're very passionate, I guess that's the word I would use. So I always enjoy posting these videos. You guys show me a lot of love on them, so thank you in advance, definitely appreciate it. But in this video today, I'm going to be going over both my premium and my V build. Kind of almost the same, few tweaks here and there. I'm going to be going over premium first, kind of transitioning then into V, showing you just some key differences between the two. So thank you guys so much in advance. Let's hop right into the video. Alright, before we begin, I just wanted to quickly mention that if you guys are enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like on the video. Possibly consider subscribing to the channel. Definitely appreciate it. Over, I think we're at like 1,300 subs, something like that, so thank you guys so much. And yeah, let's hop right into the video, starting off with our boss unit itself. Kind of the starting point and really just the key instigator in this deck. This is going to be Ancient Dragon Spinodriver. So Spinodriver is an awesome card in both formats, but again, this is the premium deck first, so just starting off, same in both. Auto when this unit guy attacks from Vanguard or is ridden upon. Counterblast 1, retire 2 rearguards, get an imaginary gift excel, draw a card, choose a card from your hand, and call it to rearguard circle. Then choose 2 of your units and they get an additional 5k until the end of turn. So that's super big. You know, your ride up turn with this over here can be very aggressive, very powerful actually. And on top of that too, when ridden upon, boom, like you just pop that down, gain an extra excel, draw 2 essentially, you know, draw for turn, draw off the excel, draw a card right there. You know, you retire 2 rearguards, but at the end of the day, that's not too terrible. We have targets to retire still in this deck, which I think is pretty important overall. And then lastly, over here, auto on rearguard circle once per turn. When your drive check reveals a trigger unit, yeah, put that card on the card from the top of your deck as an equip gauge for this unit. Sorry, can't speak right now, but this guy over here essentially just stacks himself a little bit if you want to. You don't really want to gauge this guy too much, it's not important, but there is somebody who does kind of rely off the number of gauges underneath. So this is our starting Vanguard. Need this in soul for our next card up over here, which is going to be 4 of the new ancient, how do you say this? Eradication Ancient Dragon Spinodragon reverse. I didn't see the eradication there first, but this guy over here, awesome card, really propels the strategy forward and is just as good in V as it is in premium. Honestly, it's like actually insane. So when this guy is placed on Vanguard circle, you basically perform draw a card, choose a card from your hand, and call it to rearguard circle. You may put the top card of your deck face down as an equip gauge for that unit 1 time, and then if we have Ancient Dragon Spinodriver in our soul, perform it 3 times instead. So before you even stride, boom, you have Spinodriver in your soul. Counterblast 1, retire 2 rearguards, basically gain an extra excel circle, you draw that card, call a card down, 2 units are getting an extra 5k, and then you do this 3 additional times. That is absolutely nuts over here, performing his actual skill. So you're just filtering a whole lot, you're drawing a whole lot, you're selecting units you want to call down, and there's certain units that I'm going to go over, such as like the next one up over here, that are just really benefit off of this. And its second skill, kind of like true Ancient Dragon, like the traditional V series kind of style. Its second skill, act on Vanguard circle once per turn. If you have 4 or more cards in your damage zone, basically if you're at limit break, cost counterblast 1, put 2 and lock 2 rearguards with equip gauges until the end of turn. This guy gets continuous if your drive check revealed a front trigger. This turn, all your front row units with Ancient Dragon in its card name get an additional crit. So second skill is really not too important. You really don't ever want to be using that, to be honest. We want to go into something else. So overall, not too bad. I really like this. I think this is such an aggressive kind of plussing kind of, you know, build a board kind of just insane combo over here. Just the simple 2 card ride on top of each other. You're gaining so much, you're thinning your deck out so much, getting actual units that you want to call down onto the board, which is great. So yeah, next up too, we are going to be going over this guy. This is going to be 4 of Ancient Dragon Tyranno Legend. I think that's how to say it. Yep. Essentially, auto when this guy is placed on Vanguard circle or replaced by the ability of your Ancient Dragon on rearguard. This guy gets an additional 10k and a drive. So if it's on rearguard circle, it doesn't actually get a drive because it's not drive checking because you're not on Van. But if it was on Van, you can get that. It's really not too relevant. But then discard a card from your hand and then choose a front trigger in your drop, put that onto the top of your deck. So this is huge. This is the whole strategy behind the deck right now. We need to see a front trigger because I'm going to show you why in our G zone, why that's so important later on. But just having that ability to rig that is just amazing. So going over the Spino combo into the Spino reverse, you know, you do draw, you do plus a little bit off of that. You know, you're drawing, placing things down. This just really works. It's so easy to kind of get this guy's skill off. It's I just really like it. And its last skill, auto on rearguard circle. When you drive check reveals a trigger unit, put that top card of your deck face down as equip gauge for this unit. So again, just equip gauging itself, which is a pretty standard Tachi thing. And then one last card over here, I am actually choosing to run just one of this guy, True Ancient Dragon Barrel Tops. So Barrel Tops is pretty decent, auto on Van or rearguard circle, which we really want this on rear. When placed, if you have a Vanguard with Ancient Dragon in its card name, counterblast 1, draw a card, and this unit gets an additional 5k until the end of turn. Its second skill, auto on Van or rearguard circle once per turn. When your drive check reveals a front trigger, you may have this unit gain an additional crit until the end of turn. So this is the important subtext that we want throughout the rest of this profile. You're going to kind of see as a reoccurring theme. You really want the additional crit. So we're going to rig our top deck with our Tyranno Legend. We're going to put that on top, and then a lot of our rear guards are going to gain that additional crit, gain that 10k, and then they're actually going to restand, which I'll show you a little bit later how, but that is the main idea of the deck right there, and that is all of the grade 3s. Hopping right into the grade 2s now. Over here, we're going to be looking at 4 of Ancient Dragon Dino Crowd. So Dino Crowd is an interesting card. It's not always the greatest, but I think it is powerful enough where we do need to include it at a 4 of over here. Ancient Dragon Dino Crowd on auto or Vanguard or rearguard circle. When this guy attacks, Soul Blast 1, retire rearguard, and then until the end of the battle, this guy gets an additional 10k and 5k for each of this unit's equip gauge. So basically, if you equip gauge this guy a whole lot, you're basically making this a really stacked column. Overall, Soul Blasts are kind of scarce in this deck. We need them for something else, but overall, I feel like once in a while, if you pop like one of these per game, you're probably fine. You're hitting them with like a big stacked column, and it's really easy early game to get this guy up to really nice numbers, put your opponent in a bad position for a little bit later into the game. So I do like this guy. I am running it at 4. You can kind of play with this ratio. I feel like this is the biggest question mark in my head. Maybe I would cut him down by like 1, maybe keep him at a 2, bump something else, but I'll just show you what I am running as of now, and you guys can do your own thing from there. Oh, okay. Up next over here, we're going to be looking at 4 of True Ancient Dragon. How do you say this? Alanaros? Something like that. Auto on Van or rearguard circle. When placed from hand, we counterblast 1. Look at 3 cards from the top of our deck. Call 1 card with Ancient Dragon in its card name from among them to rearguard circle. Put the rest on the bottom of our deck in any order. So this is really good for just building a board early, especially if you want to put on some pressure, because if you ride this on Van, pop this down, get another Ancient Dragon, hit a crit early. I mean, your opponent's in a bad spot that they typically don't want to guard out, super early in a game. Usually people, take damage 1, 2, things of that nature. But this kind of puts them in a bad spot because your Vanguard just got an additional crit, and your rear guard's going to be hitting for a crit. So dumping more from hand than they want to. And that second skill, just like the other grade 3 over here, auto on Van or rearguard circle once per turn. When your drive check reveals a front trigger, you may have this unit get an additional crit until the end of turn. So it's only once per turn that, but even still, like having this guy get an additional crit, 10k, buff it up even more with a unit in our G zone, and being able to restand is big. Constantly swinging 2 crits is very, very big indeed. Next up over here, and this is the card I probably would bump maybe but to like 3, maybe bring the Spino Crowd down by like 1, or Dino Crowd, sorry, down by just 1. Really have to play with it a little bit more, but I did want to get this profile out, and I'm liking it at 2 right now. I feel like that's the sweet spot for it. Continues on rearguard circle. If this unit is on additional rearguard circle, this unit cannot be retired by your opponent's card effect, so it almost has like a soft resist, which is really good. And then this guy gets an additional 5k, so I like that, just keeping it on there, just making sure that your units are a little bit more persistent, which in this game, I mean, tons of cards wipe, especially in premium, so it's really nice to have that little bit of resist. And then its second skill, just like all the other Ancient Dragons, pretty much auto on Van or rearguard circle. When you drive check a front trigger, essentially you gave this guy another crit. So again, big crit pressure on here, restanding it later. I'll show you how to do that. Is very, very good. Next up over here, so the grade 1s get a little funky, I think, in the premium build, but I am going to be running 2 of this guy over here. This is going to be, it should really be the Dragon Empire ones, but I just didn't have spare ones laying around. But right now I'm just running Savage Priestess, the in-theme Tachikaze grade 1 PGs. I'm running these because I do want to have a little bit more fronts in my trigger lineup, and this kind of just frees it up a little bit. But again, I would swap this out for the Dragon Empire one. But this guy's skill, auto on Guardian Circle when placed, it's just a Sentinel, so you discard a card from your hand and then a PG something. Its second skill, auto on Vanguard Circle when placed, draw a card, discard a card from your hand. So at least it has a skill there. A little bit of hand filter is always good. Maybe draw into a key piece that you need to extend a combo a little bit later on, but 2 of those. Next up over here too, I am running 2. This also got reprinted, so this whole deck is like extremely cheap. Like I really don't think you're going to be spending over, I mean, with the G zone, you're probably within like the $60-$65 kind of range, depending on a few things here or there. When its attack or the attack it boosted hits a Vanguard, look at 7 cards on the top of our deck, call up to 1 card with Ancient Dragon and its card names from among them to rearguard circle and rest it as rest, and then shuffle your deck. So being able to just go into your deck, hit that, it's just really big, just being able to flood your board. I do really like this, and I do want to kind of bump it up, but at the same time too, I feel like we're just kind of tight in space with the grade 1s. You can bump something else out that I'm going to show you in just a little bit, but I feel like we do need to see some of the grade 3s and kind of choose what we really want out of them. So I am deciding to run 3 still of Prism Bird. So Prism Bird is the top 5 searcher just for the grade 3s, and then if you have an equip gauge that was placed this turn, it gets an additional 5k. I feel like just getting those grade 3s, certain ones that you want in hand, you want to make sure you go into Spinodriver, Reverse, and this kind of just helps us get there. At 3 of, I think we see it enough. You know, you only want it really early game to secure that ride line. Later into the game, it is good too if you want to, you know, again, just look at the top and make sure that you're getting what you want. You could also discard a front trigger off of this to, you know, have it in the grave to what is it, later on use the Tyranno Legend to kind of put it on the top of the deck. It's completely up to you, but I think 3 of is a good amount over here, and the other guy puts the on-hit pressure on, so at 2 of it's alright. And then this guy over here is Ancient Dragon, Iguanagorg. So this is where the big, I guess one of the major differences between the premium and the regular build is we are retiring a lot of units in this premium build, and this guy helps with that because it's skill auto. When this unit has an equip gauge, this cost is reduced by Counterblast 1, but when this guy is retired from rearguard by a card's ability, we Counterblast 1 and call this card to an open rearguard circle as rest. And then at second skill auto on rearguard circle once per turn, when your drive check reveals a trigger unit, put the top card of your deck face down as this an equip gauge for this unit. So again, the equip gauge kind of thing going on, but overall, what we're going to be doing with somebody in the G zone is really popping a bunch of guys, and these are the guys that are kind of recurring and make sure that we can kind of do that turn after turn, the kind of like the resilient pieces on board that we kind of need. So I feel like if you see 1 to 2 of these, it makes it a little bit easier throughout the game. I think at 3 of, it's just the right ratio. This doesn't really do too much for us in terms of like our win condition, but this really helps us kind of survive and just keeps our resource engine flowing a little bit easier throughout the game. So I like this at 3 of over here, and it again shares that Ancient Dragon name, which is really nice. And then that wraps it up for the main deck outside of just the starter. I'm going to be running just the regular V starter. I know in Tachikaze you can get fancy and run some other starters too, but I think for this build, you know, just the regular one, drawing a card is good for us and getting that quick shield. Cool. Let's pan out and go over the triggers now. Alright, kicking us right off with the triggers. Now, I need to explain, I guess, this choice over here because typically, you know, why not just use the Dragon Empire one, but I am really liking this Cray Elemental one. So difference between the two, the Dragon Empire over trigger kind of stands your Vanguard up again. You can just, you know, re-swing. That's all good and dandy, and there is reason you would kind of traditionally run that in this deck, but now that we have Tyranno Legend, we can kind of rig the top of our deck. I think that just having this guy just makes it a little bit better. So essentially what you would do is with this guy, it gives you 2 units with 100 mil. So what you would do, you would rig the top of your deck. Let's say you hit this next over here, so all your Ancient Dragons with the ability, you know, get that additional crit. You just gave 2 units with 100 million, you know, 2 PGs to block that. At that point in the game, I feel like they should kind of be, you know, within 2 damage to kind of die anyway. It just feels so much better putting 100 million on 2 different critted units and being able to restand them too. So you're getting 400 million attacks, which I'll kind of show you how to do that once we get over the G zone. But as such, in an Ancient Dragon deck, I'm running a lot of fronts. I'm running 9 fronts total, so I've got 5 there, and then 4 of the Dragon Empire ones. In the ideal deck, you do want to be running the Dragon Empire ones. If you're, you know, try to keep this budget, you can just go with the regular Tachikaze ones. Totally fine. But these guys give you an additional 5k, which is really nice. So I feel like it just complements the deck nicely. And you typically previously wanted to run a little bit more fronts, but since Tyranno Legend again kind of rigs the top, like we're just fine with 9. I feel like you see it often enough. It's definitely the most predominant trigger in this deck, and we don't really need crits in general. But we are also running 4 of our Hill Guardians over here. You know, no reason not to run them in premium. There's just literally no reason whatsoever, so definitely doing that. And then over here we are going to be running 2 of our Archbirds. So this was kind of, you know, a toss-up. I feel like for V you can get away with the regular 30k Sentinel crits, but in premium you definitely need to just hard block some things. So I don't think you can really survive without having these draw PGs right here. Definitely need those in the deck. I know, you know, we do filter through our deck quite fast in here, so this could be, you know, the reason he dies sometimes, but I feel like it's worth it in the end, and helps you a little bit early into the game as well, maybe draw into some good pieces. So that is it for the premium build over here for the main deck, and let's get into the G zone. Alright, kicking us off with the G zone, we're going to be looking at our main guy over here. This is going to be 3 copies of Explosive Tyrant Magnet. I think it's Giganto Giganto Pharaoh, I think that's how to say it, but this is honestly the main bread and butter of the G Zone. This is the card that you want to stride into almost every single turn if you have the option to do so. This guy's skill, it does have the the Engorge ability, so essentially Engorge, if you're not familiar, when you swing you just eat another unit or retire it, and basically it's considered Engorge this unit then. Its second skill over here, and the main skill is auto. When this guy does become engorged, counterblast 1, turn a card from your G Zone face up, choose the same number of cards same number of rear guards as the units retired by this card's ability this turn, and until the end of turn they get an additional 10k in auto. Once per turn, at the end of battle, this unit attacked, Soul Blast 1 and stand this unit. So essentially kind of like what I was just saying with the over trigger. Basically when you swing with this guy, you eat something, you want to eat your back row or just something else maybe that already has swung, and then boom, you're gonna pop the ability onto all of your units with that additional crit ability. So when your Vanguard swings, when your rear guard swing, Soul Blast 1, they just restand back up. You know, you're gonna have 3 attacks essentially if you pop those 3 units with the Engorge ability. You're gonna have 3 attacks that are double crit. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 attacks, plus this unit, plus the one that you just retired over here. So that's a lot of attacks during the turn, and they're super high pressure. And like I was saying, with the over trigger, you're essentially getting 4 attacks that are 100 million. So that's, I don't know, in my opinion, just really, really big. Because if I put the over trigger on both, you know, let's say they PG my Vanguard, swing 100 mil to crit, swing 100 mil to crit. The second one does the same thing, and it's so easy to rig the top now with Tyranno Legend. You're putting that front trigger on the top and just making sure that your units are hitting for really, really quality numbers. So I love this guy. I think he's super, super good. I think that he really carries this clan at this point in premium. I think Neveros is good, but it's just, you know, not enough to keep it up right now at a top tier kind of level. And I think this is a decent deck, maybe not the best ever in premium, but it's honestly solid, and I think you can do actually a lot of damage if people are unsuspecting, and this is just a huge value kind of buy. So this whole deck is pretty cheap. Next up over here too, I'm actually running 2 of Great Emperor Gaia Dynas, Great Emperor Dragon Gaia Dynas. So Dynas is pretty cool because what you are able to do, let's read the skills for us. It does have the Engorge ability, of course, and then its second skill. Let's go to the third skill first, actually. Auto on Vanguard Circle. Choose a face down card with Gaia, basically the same name as this guy, from your G Zone, and then turn it face up. And then when this becomes engorged, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose up to 1 of your rear guards, retire all the rear guards in the same column as that unit, and then counter charge 1. And its second skill, the first one over here, actually, yeah, the second skill right there, GB3. When your rear guard is retired by this unit, you may counter blast 1, and if you do, call that unit to rear guard circle, and then this unit gets an additional 3k until the end of turn. So let's think about that for a second. So in an ideal world, you'd have Tyranno Legend here in a column, and also Iguanagorg behind it. Pop the Iguanagorg, let's say. Everything else retires, that's fine. Counterblast 1 at the same time. You know, Iguanagorg is going to come back eventually, so I'm just going to put it there. You're going to counterblast 1, and then when this unit is retired, call it back down. You countercharged and you counterblasted right there. So even if you didn't have any counterblast open, that's fine. You basically are still able to do it. You're gonna pop this down, discard a card from your hand, get a front on the top of the deck when this guy, all when this guy is swinging over here, mind you. So you're essentially able to come out and guarantee still, even without that counterblast, that you can at least get off a the 2 crit kind of front trigger that goes across all your boards. So, and then this guy gets buffed up too. So, you know, this guy gets 3k, that guy gets 3k, this gets 10k from its own ability too, which is really, really decent. So just another little combo you can do there as well. So be cognizant of that if you are counter starved. Next up over here, these are kind of flip fodder in all honesty, but you can go into it. I mean, you're not going to win a game if you do, but Super Ancient Dragon, Burn Garon, I think that's how to say it. Act on Vanguard Circle once per turn. Choose one of your rear guards with Ancient Dragon in its card name until the end of turn. It gets when this unit is retired from rear guard circle. Return this card and return this card to your hand. Its second skill on Van, choose one of your rear guards with the Ancient Dragon in its card name and retire it. When this unit attacks, you may pay the cost. If you do, this guy gets an additional 10k till the end of turn. So I actually have strode into this before, just kind of how it worked out. I don't remember the exact circumstances. You know, you get the key pieces back to your hand, really preparing for your next turn possibly. But I mean, on a unit that's already, you know, 27k becomes a 37k. Sometimes in a game of numbers like Vanguard, you know, that little extra 10k can make a difference. Overall, this is really just flip fodder for the for our main stride grade 3, the first one that we went over, the Pharaoh. But next up over here too, you can run 2 of these. So I know we're not going for like a general retire restand, and if you want to, you can include Neveros if you have access to that, but I just personally didn't want to take it out of my other deck and put this in here, so I put Gluttony Dogma in instead, and this is a budget alternative that almost does the same thing. So this guy's skill, auto on Van or rear guard circle, does have Engorge, and then its second ability on Vanguard Circle, GB2, choose a face down card with Absolute Ruler Gluttony Dogma from your G Zone, turn it face up, and when this unit becomes engorged, if the number number of units retired during this turn due to the effects of this unit's engorge ability is 3 or more, you may pay the cost, and if you do, until the end of turn, this guy gets an additional 10k, and then auto, basically if you retire 5 or more, you get to restand it with -1 drive. So, you know, able to swing 27 turns to 37k unboosted. You know, retire your units, that's fine, you did 5, so you're going to restand it again, you know, put any triggers you hit on it, boom, swing again. You know, sometimes Vanguard is really simple, just, you know, it comes down to chance, and something that can restand and swing kind of and still have drive checks is still decent. So overall, I'm running 2 of those just as a super backup plan. Don't really want to go into that just because the playstyle of this deck doesn't really lend itself as much, but the Iguana Gorgs do come in clutch there as well. Next up over here, we are going to go into the G Guardian. So I'm going to be running 2 of the new ones over here, which is actually a really decent one. So Fortress Marquis how do you even say this? Regal Guarder, I think that's how to say it. Auto, when this unit is placed on Guardian Circle, cost retire any number of rear guards. This guy gets an additional 10k until the end of battle for each of those 10k shield, I'm sorry, for each of those retired units for the cost, and then draw a card for each unit within equipped gauge that was retired for its cost. So basically, pop these guys, you know, if they have, pop these guys if they have equipped gauges and they just come back, it's fine. You're going to be drawing off of each one of those as well, just becoming a really big shield overall. It's not really a quasi PG, which is okay, I guess. It's not the worst thing in the world, but I wish it was if you hit like a certain amount. But overall, you know, gets you that card draw, gets you that extra shield. This can really save you in a pinch. I love these G guards. Next up over here too, an oldie with goldie. This is again got reprinted too. Cliff Authority Retainer Blockade Ganja, so, or Ganga, I don't know, however you want to pronounce it. Auto, choose one of your rear guards and then retire it. When this unit is placed on Guardian Circle, you may pay the cost. If you do, this guy gets an additional 10k until the end of battle, 10k shield, and then choose up to 2 of your rear guards until the end of turn. They get auto. When this unit is retired, return this card to your hand. So you can combo this with your next G guard. If you have 2 in hand, you can combo, you know, you can just put this straight up on the Iguana Gorg and then boom, pop it. 2 other guys get the return to hand, go into one of these next, pop the other units who have that now return to hand kind of clause in their thing. So there's a lot of funky things you can do with this, and this is a really actually decent G guard overall. And then lastly, this guy right here, Barrage Giant Cannon, a Bullish Primer. So when placed on Guardian Circle, choose a face down G Guardian from your G zone, turn it face up, and then this unit gets an additional 5k until the end of battle for each of your open circles. Pretty simple. It gets more GB out. You can go into the GB3 a little bit earlier too, especially if you rode up first. So just kind of gets us where we need to be. It's not really the greatest in the world, but if you are really trying to get to one of the GB3 abilities, that is an option. So thank you guys so much for watching. This is the premium build, and let me go over the V build now, and I'll show you guys where the deck kind of differs. Alright, so hopping into my view build, first off, I just want to apologize about the glare. It's just kind of hard for me to angle the light and not really get any glare on these cards right there, but you guys can still probably see it. It's just fine. No changes really in the grade 3 lineup. Still 4, 4, 4, and did I say that right? 4, 4, 4, yeah, and just 1. You can run the alternate, the other kind of like ride target grade 3, but I don't suggest it just because you want to go into Spino into the reverse. That's really the main idea of the deck overall, and making sure that everything kind of gets that additional crit is huge in this deck, to be honest. Also, the way we kind of just guarantee that we do get into the front trigger, and by getting into the Tyranno Legend, is this grade 1, something that was not present in the other builds necessarily. I just feel like you with the Soul Blast cost of our Stride, we don't have enough room to Soul Blast for this guy. So this is Ancient Dragon Baby Rex, really solid card overall for the V format. Again, I just wouldn't run it in my premium, don't really do that. But when this guy with an equipped gauge is retired from Rearguard Circle by the ability of a card with Ancient Dragon in its name, Soul Blast 1, bind this card, and then search your deck for up to 1 grade 3 card, call it to Rearguard Circle. So essentially you're calling out the Tyranno Legend, making sure that the Spinodriver Reverse, the whole like locking deal kind of thing, is good for later on, rigging the top of your deck with that front trigger. Super easy. I wish there was enough soul in this deck to kind of run it in premium, but there just, in my opinion, isn't. But I think that we still call Tyranno Legend enough off of various different effects to kind of rig the top and still get that kind of deal going on. So I still like it. I think that we are running that at a 4 of in V, and it makes no sense not to, really. Also running 4 of these, that's a big change too. I was running 2 of them in my premium builds, but in V, I feel like the on-hit pressure a little bit early. The hand size doesn't get as crazy as maybe premium at times, so I think that this is a little bit better to dig a little bit deeper to get your things on the field, and just making sure that you can kind of combo off. 2 Iguana Gorgs still. I know we were running 3 previously, but 2 in V I think is okay. You still retire rear guards, and I think that having something that just kind of recurs itself is good and important. So that is, yeah, that's just my rationale there. For the triggers over here, I'm running 4 of the Crit Sentinels. You will deck yourself out if you run the draws. Personally, I cannot do it. I've tried it multiple times with different Tachi decks overall, but I just think it's too difficult to do so. So overall, that is, I guess, my rationale for that. But I'm running 8 front triggers. We don't need to really push it as much as we used to, just because Tyranno Legend does rig it. It's much easier to hit now than it was previously. I think you need to run at least 10 to 12. So I think that now in the V format, it's just super easy with the Baby Rex combo to hit it off that 8, and then 4 of the the Heal Guardians, still running 4 of those. There's no point really to run the 20Ks. You can do it for a little bit later into the game if you really want to, but I think just making sure that you're kind of at the pace that you need to survive into your second grade 3 turn is just easily achieved with the Heal Guardians. So those are the major changes there. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, I appreciate you guys tuning into these. You know, I know that the 2-for-1s are a whole lot to get through overall, so I definitely appreciate it, but I just want to show you guys too, I do own both the decks. You know, these aren't, you know, nothing's proxied in here. I do play with both the decks. I have played with both the decks. You know, I am actively testing all the formats right now, overdress, you know, premium, V, everything. So, you know, I just figured the builds were so similar between the two, so I just edited my premium Ancient Dragon build from the the premium collection. So thank you guys again. Let me know if you have any questions down in the comments below. I know Tachi Gang is very, very passionate, and let me know too if you like this by leaving a thumb down below. So yeah, thank you guys so much. This is Alex from Team Generations signing out.